Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show.
Hello.
Good evening, good morning, good day.
Goodness.
The sound you just heard was my glasses tapping on the microphone, the pop mount.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Very authentic studio noises.
Oh, undoubtedly so.
Benji Clifford.
Nicholas Briggs here. Welcome. Well, he's Nick, I'm Benji. Welcome to our mythical realm in which we talk all things cult and a little bit on the side.
Yes, you are welcome to it. You. Yes, you.
You. It's you. This isn't the lottery, in case you... Yeah, don't look out for big hands pointing from the sky. That's misleading. That doesn't happen.
That's like from the past, anyway.
Yeah.
Just a reminder that the Benji and Nick Show is sponsored by the Jerry Anderson store. And remember, folks, if you do order anything from the Jerry Anderson store, you can use the special code DESTROY. It's all one word. Well, it's the same word 3 times with no spaces and all in capitals. Get yourself some free shipping. If you enter that code, you get free shipping on anything you order from the Jerry Anderson store.
It's well worth a gander, undoubtedly so. If I was in your shoes, whatever shoes you could be wearing socks, could be wearing slippers. You could be wearing comedy clown shoes for all I know.
Oh yeah, I hope so.
I hope so. If I was in your shoes, I would use that code and I would get some free shipping. Oh yeah. But this week here on the Benji and Nick Show, we're going to be discussing the little-known cult classic, the ITV thriller series Zodiac, which stars Anushka Hempel and Anton Rogers. What a wild card, Nick. I did not expect it to be quite as good as it actually is. It was not that I had any expectations, but because I had never heard of it. But I have to admit, I'm very impressed.
Yeah, me too. I bought the DVD of it at some convention or something at the end of the day when somehow you think you're going to improve your day by spending some money.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's the best way.
And I went up to this stall. I don't know, I want to say it was run by a chap called Bruce Campbell. Are you listening, Bruce? And I said, oh, what's this? And he went, oh yeah, it's very, very, people like that. And I thought, yeah, because the cover of the DVD looks like sapphire and steel.
It does. It's got that vibe, definitely.
That's what they're going for, isn't it, to make you think. And so I thought, I've never heard of it, and I'll give it a go. And I took it home and I watched the first few minutes of it, and I thought, oh, whatever. And I was a bit put off it. But someone suggested it, didn't they, to us in one of their emails?
Oh, they did.
And so last week I wandered across the room and found it on my shelf and thought, all right, let's do it. Well, and like you, pleasantly surprised, watching beyond the first few minutes. Really surprised. Anyway, but... we'll talk about that later, very soon. But anyway, in the spirit of blatantly promoting the Jerry Anderson brand, because they're sponsoring us, can you tell us about what's on offer at the Jerry Anderson store today, Benji? What's
Most
the URL
certainly can.
Again?
Let's take a little peeky weeky to see what's going down.
What's the address?
So the address is shop.jerryanderson.co.uk. And actually, what I'm going to do before I do that is I'm just going to go on to the Twitter, because I'm sure there's a brand new product released. Yes, there is. Here we go. Yes. So this week, is it pre-order or is it pre-order? So this week you can pre-order the new Captain Scarlet soundtrack from the rebooted television series, and if you get it from the Jerry Anderson store, you get a signed version of the soundtrack, which is by Crispin Merrill. But
we'll be saying something else about that later on, actually. But
oh man, well there we go then. But there's only 100 available, so get on the website and give it a go, because why not? I would.
Why not?
But there's lots of other goodies. I've just seen there's a Thunderbird 5 hoodie on here, which I haven't noticed before. So that's pretty rocking.
Yeah, there was Thunderbird 1 and Thunderbird 2, wasn't there? Are there hoodies for all the Thunderbirds?
Oh well, I think there must be now. But that Thunderbird 5 one's gorgeous, isn't it? Let's have a look. Shop now. Thunderbirds. Yeah, we got the
200 birds, was that?
200 birds for sale on the Jerry Anderson store. Yep, there's now a hoodie for... Oh, blimey. There's now a hoodie for every single Thunderbird. So you got your Thunderbird 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all in the consecutive colours for each one.
They've not done one of the Gypsy Moth or the Tiger Moth from Thunderbird 6. Then
they need to get on it. But then they've already got. They've already got a yellow hoodie though, haven't they? So you can't have another yellow one.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Any other Jerry Anderson thoughts today?
Yeah, one thought what I had the other day was I need to watch more Fireball XL5 because
I wish I was a spaceman.
Well, it's brilliant because I didn't realise. Well, I did realise. I was chatting to my dad about it, just about Thunderbirds and stuff like that, and he just said how when he was a kid he just loved Fireball XL5.
Me too. I thought of it as a very, very special thing. Fireball, yes.
Steve Zodiac.
Zuni. Yeah. Okay, Steve.
Yeah, it's one of those
Venus.
shows that I think...
Okay, Venus.
Okay, Venus. It's one of those shows I think it's easy to leap to the Thunderbird stuff and be like, oh yeah, Thunderbirds. But actually, Fireball XL5, from what I've seen, is just awesome. So that's definitely something I'm going to be jumping on.
I once interviewed Dennis Spooner, who wrote for Fireball XL5. And of course, he'd written for Doctor Who. And, I mostly spoke to him about Zuni, because I'd just been watching Fireball XL5 on our way home. Zuni, and which he was very amused about. And funnily enough, I went to a prisoner event, and Dennis Spooner's daughter was there.
Oh yeah,
and she was introduced to me. She was anxious to speak to me because she said, "I believe you met my father." And I said, "Well, only for a short interview." But he was a lovely guy. And I have a lovely feeling every time I mention the name Dennis Spooner because Brian Clemens, the late, great Brian Clemens, he always used to talk with great affection about Dennis because they used to write together. And, right up until shortly before Brian's death, whenever he was interviewed, he would get very emotional talking about Dennis. He'd say, I still miss him. And he died, decades before. The best story that Brian told me about Dennis was that they were trying to write a comedy together and they just weren't coming up with anything funny. And so Dennis Spooner came in wearing a tea cozy. And he said, "Why are you wearing that?" He said, "Well, even if neither of us can write anything funny, I think one of us should at least look funny."
That's the attitude, isn't it? That is the attitude to have.
Yeah. And both of them, I think, agreed with that old adage. There's only one way to get on with writing. It's not difficult. It's arse to chair and pen to paper.
The only way, the proper way.
Get on with it, yeah.
Buck up. That's right.
Oh, well, that was our Jerry Anderson thought for today with a little bit of Dennis Spooner, the wonderful Dennis Spooner thrown in. And Brian Clemens. You can always throw in a bit of Brian Clemens. Marvellous man.
It's the beauty of these little segments, isn't it? You never quite know what you're going to get. And we've got some little nuggets there. So that's brilliant and lovely to chat about. So, as we move forward then, just a reminder that we'll be running a brand new Jerry Anderson competition in this very podcast. But more on that at the end. Yeah. But in the meantime, before we head into the delight that is Zodiac, here are some emails. Ooh.
Yes, these were sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. And first up, we have our first competition winner, Brittany Slosky. Subject line, new Jerry Anderson fan. Dear Benji and Nick, first off, I'd like to thank you both and the Jerry Anderson shop for the hoodie. It just came in the other day and I absolutely love it. It's a beautiful blue, soft, warm, and absolutely perfect considering that we just got more snow. Goodness, right. If any other listeners have been thinking about getting one, I'd highly recommend doing so. Wow, Brittany, you're very good. You're like a proper advertisement. My only previous experience with Thunderbirds was anything that popped up on the Big Finish podcast, and most recently your fantastic previous episode. What's that?
The one, not the Big Finish, our Benji and Nick show episode on Thunderbirds.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Brittany, I'm not concentrating. But I've since started watching and I'm really enjoying it. I love sci-fi, I love puppets, I love models, and what incredible models they are. I can only hope to get that good at model building someday. And most of all, I love 60s design aesthetic.
Oh, yeah.
I'm studying it in a history of decor class right now, too. And it's just so much fun. I plan to skip ahead to Attack of the Alligators next to see what... I love the way she put the exclamation mark in. To see what all the hype is about, and hope to move on to Captain Scarlet soon, as I've been meaning to get round to it ever since you previewed an episode a while back on the Big Finish podcast. Yes, absolutely. And you can get all the audio Captain Scarlet stuff from bigfinish.com. I have one question for you, though. I'm not sure if you have an answer. Do you have any sort of recommended preferred viewing order of Jerry Anderson shows? All the best, Brittany. Do you mean viewing of all the shows, not individual episodes of individual shows?
Yeah, I think it's like, what would you jump to first? That's how I've interpreted it.
I mean, the order, the historical order of the sci-fi stuff is Supercar, Fireball XL5, Stingray, Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, Joe 90,
Secret Service,
UFO, Space 1999. Have I missed anything out? It'd be awful if I had.
Hold on to your hat here, right, because I think you are right. Terrorhawks, I suppose we can.
Oh yes, after Space 1999. Yeah.
Four Feather Falls.
I was saying the sci-fi ones.
Oh, the sci-fi. Yeah. Then you're Dick Spanner.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, that was before Terrorhawks or after Terrorhawks.
Good question. I have to go on the old Wikipedia for this because I'm just not that sharp.
I mean, I'm not sure it's that important, Benji.
Life's important. 86. So Terrorhawks was.
Stay on this channel.
Yeah, please stay on this. Please stay on this channel. We'll get on with it in a minute. The year for Terrorhawks was 83.
So yeah, Dick Spanner was the. Yeah.
Interesting. There we
the
go.
Later one.
Anyway, that was a tangent and a half there, but yeah, I think my advice would be to just go with what appeals to you, because they're all brilliant, but they're all different. They've all got their own kind of little reasons for them being brilliant. I mean, my natural starting thing was Thunderbirds, because when I was young, that happened to be on the TV at the time, and then after that I jumped to Captain Scarlet. My first memory, I think, of Captain Scarlet was I received I think it was like some boot fair or some fete or something, and there was an annual. I'm sure I had a Captain Scarlet annual, and that introduced me to Captain Scarlet. And I think I got a VHS and stuff. But yeah,
I was a big Stingray fan, really, really big. I loved Stingray. Stingray. Marina. And yeah, I would loved Aquamarina, and I'd love Big Finish to do Stingray stuff. Be brilliant casting Aquamarina because she doesn't speak.
Why not though? Why not?
You just have to pay someone to have a photograph taken, basically. Right.
Record silence would be perfect. Yeah, so thanks for that one, Brittany. Awesome as always to hear from you, and yeah, just go for it. See what appeals. Quickly though, actually, the Super Marionation documentary is really good, but also that's a really great way to get the overall perspective on kind of the bigger picture of the different and the variety of different releases. Yes. So
definitely get that. It's brilliant.
That's a really good way, because then you can watch it, see the natural order, and then you say, well, that really speaks to me, or I'm not feeling that one, but I'm feeling that one. So yeah, do that. That is my advice. Boom.
Good call.
Next up, this one from Sarah Barrett, subject line, a pointless email. Well, we like a pointless email. It's just going to be full of like wingdings and weird little pictures.
Dear Benji and Nick, blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah. Have a bad day. Bye. Oh, thank you. Dear Benji and Nick, first off, I'd like to apologise for this mostly random / pointless email. But whilst listening to the latest podcast, my mind stumbled upon a tangent that I thought might intrigue you both. During your discussion about bygone visions of the future, Nick briefly mentioned buildings that could drop underground during emergencies.
I certainly did, yes.
Funky idea. This instantly made me think of earthquake-proof beds. Now, I don't know if you've seen videos of these across the pond, so I've included a link for your viewing pleasure. And I'd be interested to hear your opinions on these peculiar contraptions. Protection from earthquake. You sleep, and this bed will protect you. This bread will protect...
Should we click the link and have a look?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, go to page. Okay. All right. Zooming into...
I love that already. It's a CGI corporate style advert.
Mahirmatic
Fun Club.
Right, so there's a person in the bed. What's going to happen? Oh, there's the earthquake starting.
No.
Rumble, rumble.
I love the way the trees stay still.
Oh, and the bed.
Oh my god!
That's terrible.
That's horrible.
What has just happened is that the beds suddenly disappeared into a steel box, which is full of
goodies, water,
first aid stuff, and the building's collapsed, but the person is safe inside the steel box.
God, blimey! I mean, that's.
I hope there's air in there. Yeah. There's a fire extinguisher, and a gas mask. I mean, how long do they expect you to survive in that really small space? Here we go. They keep showing these people in various luxury beds suddenly going, oh my goodness,
that's got a
full
roof.
Poster, the top collapsed onto it. Oh, that's weird.
But wouldn't you, in theory, if there was an earthquake, wouldn't you sit up and go, there's an earthquake, then it would hit you on the head?
Yeah, and then you get hit. Ow! Now, it's really interesting what Sarah says next. I'm stopping that clip. It's on the grounds that it's disturbing me.
They're just like coffins, aren't they, really? Yeah, they are. That's probably what it is. Frankly, if this is what the future looks like, I think I'll take my chances with the earthquake. Sarah, I'm with you on that one. Absolutely with you on that one.
It's just the suddenness of it, isn't it? You know, it's like, this will save your life. Smash in the face.
Well, it's smash. But it's also the fact that, like all these things, because let's face it, this is going to happen to somebody. I don't want to be the person when you say, I have to phone up work or them and say, sorry, I can't come in today. My earthquake bed has entombed me. There's no earthquake. It did it by itself.
It was malfunctioning.
It's malfunctioning. Oh, yeah, and I ran out of water.
Yeah, when you think about the number of times burglar alarms go off by accident, you imagine these going off by accident. You wake up, you're woken up by this enormous ka-chum noise, and you're just trapped in there with enough supplies for 3 days.
No lavatory.
Goodness. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? At least if you're trapped in a collapsed building, you know rescuers will be looking for you. But if you're just trapped inside this thing and there's no earthquake, no one's going to come looking for you. You are just going to be stuck there.
And you won't have your phone, because your phone will be on the bedside table.
Well, yeah, your phone will have been crushed by the enormous metal doors as they slam down. Yeah. Anyway, do carry on with Sarah's email after that shock.
Yeah, well, so basically, I think what we can safely say here is we don't recommend the earthquake metal casket technique. Sarah continues here and says, I wanted to take a moment to thank you both. I'm currently in the process of moving, which means that I've had an opportunity to listen to countless hours of your podcasts over the past few weeks. You two have kept me company through the endless hours of packing, cleaning, painting and other mind-numbing tasks. Well, a pleasure to be there. In short, without your podcast madness, I would surely have succumbed to my own madness. Although I'm not done moving yet, so there's still time. Many thanks, Sarah Barrett. Do you know what, Sarah? Moving's horrible, and actually I had a nightmare the other day. Had a nightmare that I had to move house again, and I've only recently moved in probably about late August, early September sort of time, and I had a nightmare that I had to do all the packing again, and it was enough to wake me up. I woke up thinking, I don't want to do the packing again. So I could totally relate. It's a horrible... I don't know what's worse, packing or unpacking, because both are horrible things.
They're all, yeah.
Just packing, it's like, I've got to do that cupboard next. But unpacking is, where did I put the cupboard to unpack everything into? So it's stress, you know.
Do you know what you need to sort out packing and unpacking?
A big metal box that shuts and locks me in, so I don't have to do it.
Well, yeah, you need a Steph. My wife, Steph. She loves all that. She loves to pack and she loves to unpack. She's just very methodical.
I'll have to hire her next time I move.
Yeah. She could be a professional packer.
Packer?
Like Packer in The Invasion. The Doctor Who story.
Packer.
I recently read that story to my son as a bedtime story, missing out all the horrific heads being blown off bits. So I was in seventh heaven doing Tobias Vaughan impersonations. Packer. And finally, this from Dima Wolfson. Subject line, podcast, exclamation mark. Hi, Benji and Nick. Thank you for your wonderful podcast. Brackets S, close brackets. I'm finding myself very captivated at times, especially during in-depth conversations like the ones about late Gareth Thomas and the difference between the Dalek movies and the original episodes. It's always nice to hear you chat about, well, anything really. Oh, that's very nice, Dima. Thank you. I have a question for you. What's your favourite moment of shocking revelation in all Doctor Who from the memories of first watching? I think mine must have to be that ending of the first series of Dalek Empire. Oh, the Big Finish release.
Awesome.
Because nothing beats that, and I mean it. Well, thank you very much, Dima. Take care and don't dump bodies into the river, for it is forbidden. Loyal listener Dima Wolfson, sent from somewhere, I guess, Dima says. It's also, Dima has included a frequently bought together.
Oh, nice. Look at that.
Amazon with the changes and Children of the Stones. Yes, add both to basket.
See, that's got to be our doing, hasn't it? That must have been brewed up from the podcast band.
Yeah,
definitely.
I can't think of a favourite moment of shocking revelation in all Doctor Who. I know. The end of the War Games. I watched it as a kid and I did not know it was Patrick Troughton's last episode. Can you imagine what that was
is a
like?
revelation and a half.
I thought he's not going to... When he and Jamie and Zoe try to get away and they don't get away, and then the Time Lord sentence him to be regenerated and to go to Earth, and you see him spinning away. I thought any second now he's going to get free. And then the theme tune started, and I was just left sitting in front of the television, and my mum came in and said, "What's the matter with you?" in that completely uncaring, you've been watching that rubbish programme kind of way. And I was kind of like, I was too shocked to cry, but I was sort of numb and on the verge of tears. And I said, Doctor Who's just died.
Oh.
They put a caption slide up saying, "And John Pertwee will return as the new Doctor Who next year on BBC One." And then they ran a trailer for Star Trek, which they started showing the very next week.
So as soon as you saw that, you just thought, "Oh well, Star Trek's on next week. I'll make do."
Well, no, it was difficult for me because I felt like Star Trek was some awful imposter.
Well, they put against each other in a weird sort of way. It was always a Trekkie or a Whovian.
Yeah, but I did warm to it finally. It took me until 1973 to like Star Trek. I was too young for it when it came on in '69. I just didn't quite get it. It was too adult for me.
Well, I've gone way off Star Trek now. Have you? Yeah, because the woman next door, she has the TV very, very loud, and the same time every evening, if I sit in the front room, she always watches. It's about sort of 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock sort of time. She'll watch an episode of the classic Star Trek, so I can hear the theme tune for that one every single day. Dun, 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 dun. And then after that, she goes straight into the Next Generation. So, but I like Star Trek. I think it's great, but I'm starting to go stir crazy. I'm feeling a bit Star Trek'd out because every day it's like.
Wow, that's quite a regular habit she's got there.
Yeah, she watches EastEnders as well whenever it's on, so you always hear
that.
Dun, 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 dun,
no,
dun.
Please don't make that noise.
I know. Well, I'm genuinely thinking about getting the blokes who did the soundproofing for the studio to build a wall. A great big wall in front of the lounge, so I don't have to listen to it.
There's a president who will help you with that. What is your favourite shocking, revelation moment?
For me,
Doctor Who?
Earthshock. I say revelation because it was on UK Gold, and I just was watching it, and I had no idea that Cybermen were in it at all. It was it's Earthshock. And then all of a sudden, is it a revelation? I class it as a revelation. It's like, oh my God, the Cybermen.
It was certainly meant to be. I mean, I'll tell you, I'll go off on a bit of a tangent here. When it was originally shown on BBC One, it was absolutely meant to be a total shock. They deliberately didn't put Cybermen in the title. And then the Radio Times ran a preview comic strip of 3 or 4 panels in which it was revealed the Cybermen were in it before the episode was broadcast. So I knew, because I looked in the Radio Times. That was my only source of sort of upcoming news about Doctor Who. And apart from, I suppose Doctor Who Monthly had started then, or was it still a weekly then? Became a monthly round about that time. It became a monthly with Peter Davison, so absolutely
definitely, yeah.
Yes, I'll just have a conversation with myself about that. So the secret was blown. I think Doctor Who Monthly was very careful not to blow the secret, and then the BBC's own publication went and blew it. Well,
there's always somebody
John
though
Nathan
that wants
Turner
to.
wasn't very happy about that.
There's always somebody though that wants to break the news, isn't there? And always want to be that guy.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you want to put exciting news in, but of course exciting news does also spoil the news. Anyway, there you are. Thank you for your emails. Please email us at podcast@nicholasbriggs.com and we will have a little chat with you.
Yeah, please do. It's lovely to hear from everybody. It's always a thrill to hear that there are people out there listening. So now then, we move on to Zodiac. Oh, man.
Yeah.
So let's get this kick-starting then. Zodiac, for all of you who don't know what it is, because I wouldn't have known.
And it will be most of you.
Yeah, it's basically it's about a police officer, a detective inspector, who solves crimes with the help of an astrologer.
Well, shall I read out the thing on the DVD?
Yeah, that'd be more helpful than mine. Well, it's about this bloke, you know. He meets this lady and she sort of, helps him.
Astrology is strictly for the birds. That's the emphatic view of David Gradley, a work-shy ex-Harrovian who has drifted into the police force. Then he meets a pretty young astrologer called Esther Jones, and his ideas get knocked for 6. Created by Roger Marshall, The Avengers, Public Eye, The Sweeney, this light-hearted thriller series became a cult piece of escapism for viewers during its 6-week stay on British television and has become a much sought-after series by collectors, largely due to its novel premise of the groovy 70s culture clash between the Thin Blue Line and the Age of Aquarius. Anushka Hempel, UFO, it says in brackets, stars as Esther opposite Anton Rogers, Freshfields, The Prisoner, as the coolly methodical detective Inspector Gradley. Well, he was work-shy earlier on. Michael Gambon, Peter Egan, Joanna David, Ian Ogilvy, Robert Powell and Peter Vaughan are among a host of guest stars also appearing in this popular, memorably quirky series from Thames Television, originally screened in 1974. There you go.
There we go. Do you know what? I went in thinking, this is going to be something probably not that memorable. It's not something that would have a big impact on my life. But actually, I was almost immediately, because the opening I think is actually really fun. It's got this sort of lovely old 70s library music playing and a chap who's obviously going to be killed.
Yeah.
But there's just something about this show in which the characters seem to be so compelling.
Yes.
And their relationship with each other also, it's a very strange one, but fantastic.
You've managed 2 episodes so far, haven't you?
I managed 2 episods, yeah. Well, I was really annoyed because it just didn't come in time. So yesterday I was pacing because it still wasn't here. And I was thinking, but luckily it did arrive, so I was able in the evening to sit down and enjoy it.
I've done 4 and a bit.
It's a good amount.
Here's my summation of it. I really love it, but it is not. It is by no means perfect, and there's a hell of a lot that you could be rude about in it. But what is great is the acting.
Yes.
The performances are lovely. I mean, Anton Rogers is a brilliant actor. And do you know what? Anushka Hempel, however you want to pronounce it, because it can be spelt 2 ways. She is very much... my main memory of her, as I think I mentioned in the last podcast, is that she used to appear as a celebrity guest. because I think she was an ex-model, and now she is world renowned as a designer of hotels and interior decor and everything. And she, has had several high-profile marriages. One to Bill Kenwright, the theatre producer, and I think she's married wisely, invested well. She's a noted socialite now. So I don't think acting was ever going to be a big thing for her, even though, as we know, she appeared in UFO and other things. Also, what's interesting about her is that she auditioned for the part of Jo Grant in Doctor Who.
You see, I think she's really good in this.
Yeah, and she's amazing. She's absolutely... But you can see she's got that vibe. You can see why they thought she might be good as Jo, although Katie Manning was the one for the
absolutely.
role.
Absolutely. You could easily see that happening, definitely.
If I could use that slightly old-fashioned, offensive phrase, hippie 70s chick, that's the kind of vibe she's got going on. But she is really good in this. It's a really sophisticated, nuanced performance. She's totally relaxed, and she is just being the character, and that's what you need from lead characters. And her, coupled with Anton Rogers, really fine, accomplished performer, they just work so beautifully together. And she's such a trooper, because in the 5th episode I'm watching, she clearly has a sore throat.
Oh, but
you know what? She gets through it. I mean, and that's the thing about this. The thing I really want to mention is that it is shot in that old-fashioned multi-camera video studio way.
Yep.
But the way it is crafted as a story and the performances, it absolutely should have been made on 35mm film, and it absolutely should look like The Avengers. If only they had made it the way the source material, deserved. It would have been much more of a success, because it would have been really stylish. Although bizarrely, it is kind of also written to accommodate the limited format. I mean, you never ever go to the police station. Anton Rogers' policeman, you never see him at work, and he is always visiting her, bizarrely.
I would say that Anton Rogers' character in this, he just moseys everywhere. He just appears. He's like I was like, what's the deal between these two characters? Because there's clearly some kind of sexual tension going on there, which seems to be in the end gag of every episode.
Yes,
which is that he says something like, "She's got beautiful eyes," and she looks on longingly, like thinking it's her, and then he says, "Yes, it's my cousin's friend's sister."
It's the boss's secretary, I think it was.
But so this, and he's giving her massages and stuff like that. But I always think, has she given him a key? Does she let him in and then forget he's there?
He just turns up. She's out on the balcony sunning herself in her bikini, and he just sort of turns up.
He just moseys in.
She doesn't go, "How the hell did you get here?"
I've told you, you're a Taurus, aren't you? Get out.
The whole astrology thing, I love the fact that there's an astrological advisor for it.
Oh, but it,
so
but
not
it
only
works.
is it full of all this non-scientific baloney, there's actually a non-scientific baloney expert supplying non-scientific baloney for how it all works, which is brilliant, and it's very consistent in all that. And I imagine for the strange people who actually believe that the alignment of planets as seen from the planet Earth, even though these planets are nowhere near each other in reality, has some effect on our lives, which is, I would like to put on record, impossible. I imagine that they would find it very pleasing. Cue lots of angry emails from astrologers. It's very pleasing, because I think they get all the stuff right, and they don't send it up. If anything, they send up the people like me who are skeptical about it, which is rather good, because she always ends up being right.
Well, she
knows who's on the phone. She puts her hand over the phone, and then it rings, and she picks it up and says, "Hello, so and so," and it's them.
But she sells it, like you said. She's very good as a character, but she sells it because she takes it seriously, but also because she's incredibly relaxed when doing so. She'll be talking knowledgeably about it, about the star signs, and about the way that things are impacted, the planets, people's personality traits, and you believe her because you think to yourself, well, she takes it very seriously. Like, there's that great bit where he hands her something and she sort of focuses on it. She says, "Well, I can't turn on my sort of powers in like a tap. I have to tap into it, And she, bless her, she tries and it doesn't happen. But but she's
Yes, it's not a magical solution to every plot, is it?
no, but it's a nice way. I mean, the key here is that if every episode she's always right about everybody's traits, because like my sister's like not a Leo, but she is a Leo. Like her star sign is Leo, but she is not a Leo, man. But so if she was psychoanalyzing my sister there, it'd be completely wrong. But it's an interesting.
Do I detect
one.
you believing in astrology, Benji?
I don't believe in astrology. I believe that there's some. I believe that there's some sort of
what?
I believe there's a trend behind all these sort of old style, oldie worldy sort of ways and beliefs and things like that. Because I think that there has to be. It's like shaman, and they're like herbs, for example. Herbs have been used for hundreds of years.
Yeah, but herbs have particular quantifiable chemical
qualities. In fact, no, I do. In fact, the moon, the moon has a huge impact on the way that we are. Because every time, right, if I'm out, I will just say to myself, oh, it's a full moon. Because people do strange things. People act weirdly. People drive worse when it's a full moon. I've noticed that. Like,
has that been researched and quantified? I want to see the data.
I'm gonna have a look. But let's put it this way.
Who knew this would?
I've noticed it.
I can almost accept the moon thing because the moon has an enormous gravitational effect on the Earth, and I can sort of see that we might be affected in some way by gravity. I mean, it moves all the oceans around for a start. It has huge power over us.
I think there's something. I mean, yeah.
The key thing about astrology is the way the stars and planets are aligned. And those judgments were made when people didn't realise that just because they saw dots in the sky together, it didn't mean that those things were actually anywhere near each other, because some of them are billions of miles away from others. So how they actually can influence us, I've no idea.
Well,
but
it's like
as Camille Kajuri, who's a believer in all this, said to me, when I said, "Well, you do realise that's all rubbish," she said to me, "Well, what do you think explains the world then?" And I said, "Well, science." And she said, "Science? Oh, pah!" So that told me, did it? Yeah.
Well, I certainly don't believe, if Mars is in your line of workings, then your love life is going to take off. So what's Mars got to do with any of this? Millions miles away, and it's just a planet. It's not. How's that going to be? I don't believe that. And when people say that people's star signs and compatibility and stuff like that, I think, well, no. I think everybody's different, because just because you're born a Scorpio doesn't mean that you are a Scorpio. Life experience comes into it, doesn't it, really?
Well, they would say not. But I would say this about people who can do readings and things, that I think that in the process of doing it, they develop a sense about people. And whether they realise it or not, I think that they are just becoming wise about people's characters, and it's not to do with any celestial influence. This is just my view, obviously, my vociferously held view. But it's to do with empathy. And I think that, they can be right about things simply because they have just got a lot of experience of the human condition. I want to go back to Zodiac.
Okay, I was just going to say one thing very quickly. I've got into the process recently of doing tarot cards and drawing a tarot card every morning to say, how do I focus my energy today? What is my?
Can I just say that you're bonkers?
I am a bit bonkers, but it's not about how. I don't believe that tarots tell the future, but what it is the idea behind each card is it has a positive and a negative. If it's upright, it's positive. If it's upside down, it's negative. But the idea through that, and this goes back to kind of what you were saying about empathy, is the card doesn't tell the future. The card doesn't predict anything. But what it does is it gives you a way of thinking for the day. So you pull a card and you think, okay, so for example, the Ace of Wands is all about opportunity and about looking at ideas and things and thinking to yourself, well, should I pursue that? Is that something that I want to pursue? It's not saying you should.
I thought the Ace of Wands was about a magician who defeated criminals.
It is, as well, in the 70s, which we should definitely cover.
Definitely, yeah.
But it's so I would say that it's about like relating these things to the human condition and human emotions and things. So like you were saying, people who do readings and stuff, they have a great understanding of people just like those cards, they don't tell you anything other than to reflect upon yourself and your own emotion, I suppose, really.
Well, I'd just like to say that's rubbish.
Well, you know, it's all interpretive, isn't it? It's all a bit crazy.
That's what you think. Hold on, Benji, come back. No, the interesting thing for me about Zodiac, one of the many interesting things, is if you look at the DVD cover, it says starring Anton Rogers and Anushka Hempel. That's because now we know Anton Rogers. He had a big career. And who's Anushka Hempel? But back in the day, if you look at the program, she is the star. This is her star vehicle. So, yeah, and it would be interesting to see if this show had taken off, as it really should have done, if they'd spent the right amount of money on it. Because they're really good. She's excellent in it.
Well, I would say as well as that...
It would have changed her career. Imagine if they'd done 5-6 years of this.
Well, I think it has the ability to take off. And actually, like one thing I was going to touch on, and I'm sure she would agree, being an interior designer herself, is that the sets are fantastic in this. And they've been dressed really well. Her flat, in particular, her apartment, that weird conservatory bit in the inside, is actually really funky. Like some of the ideas in there, it's like a real... It was the same actually with that show Ace of Wands. They have these ability to make these sort of sets, which are like these really cool pads. I mean, the comedy also in this is that it seems that every villain in this particular in Zodiac seems to have really high tech computers built into everything, like relay tape machines and little weird televisions and loads of buttons and telex machines. And you think to yourself, why has everybody got these? Like, I don't have one in my house. I don't have a personal thing that I can remotely turn on music. You know, well, I do now, but
yeah, of course you do now. Yeah, that's right. It was very aspirational about the future. The episode with Michael Gambon as a ruthless businessman. He has a video recorder.
It's pretty far out.
Which was almost unheard of in those days.
This is the thing. It's got a lot of ideas, but like you say, Nick, if they'd have spent some money on taking this, put it on the 35mm, get some location stuff in there as well.
Yeah.
I think this could have been a real hit, and from the scripts as well, I think it's fun and interesting and captivating.
Yeah.
And it's one of those shows as well that it doesn't solve it all for you. Like it's about 45 minutes.
I think it's 45 minutes to an hour. I think probably more like an hour. Actually,
but so you spend
it's got commercial breaks, so maybe it's less than an hour.
You spend a good amount of time though working things out in your head and thinking, well, why are they doing this? Who's this? What is that? Like in the first episode, it's like it's clear who does it from the very beginning. But then but you're constantly working through thinking, well, what is the motive behind this? What is going on here?
I didn't think it was that clear who'd done it, actually. You thought you knew that it was Thingamy Rhys Davies from...
As soon as he ran to the bath, Indiana I was like, "What? Come on!" I was like, "You run into the bath? Like, who does that?"
But then he said he ran to the bath because the porter had told him that someone had been found dead in his bath.
Yeah,
so
but
he
then
came straight in to check the bath.
If somebody told me somebody died in my bath, I would not run to the bath. I would assume the police would be all over, or I'd phone the police. You wouldn't run to your bath. Would you, Nick? Would you run to your bath, or would you?
Yes, but only if I was guilty.
He put his hands in there, like.
Yeah,
like it's not like, I better just find his nose.
That reminds me of my favourite line from that episode when Anton Rogers' character is talking to the maid who found the body. And she says, "Oh, it's such a shock for me." She said, I've never seen, and you think she's going to say a dead body before, but she says, "I've never seen a naked man before." And, she's a middle-aged lady. And he said, "But surely you're married." And she says, "Yes, but what's that got to do with it?"
I love that. I thought that was amazing.
That was brilliant. There are loads of corkers like that in it, I must admit.
Well, Neville, the butler, Trevor Baxter.
Played by Trevor Baxter.
Such a good character as well. Like, so fun.
Beautiful to see him there in his prime. Sadly, recently deceased Trevor, and we miss him so much at Big Finish. But yes, go on. Sorry.
What was it? But My father was a butler, his father was a butler, and his mother was a maid and a housekeeper, and her father, well, he was a gamekeeper, but yes, we don't talk about that. Unfortunate business. Shot by his own boss. Left barrel of the shotgun.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Hunting
yeah.
accident. It's just
really, and you really hope that he's going to stay, because she's just borrowing him because a friend of hers has gone abroad and they've got the children have mumps and he hasn't had mumps, and so they say, "Oh, can you look after our butler while we're away?" So she just gets a butler for free, cooking and serving her.
But he's such a good, like, he should have stayed really, because he's so good. Like when they ask him, Neville, have you heard of this? Well, yes, I thought about, and it's like a really...
Yes, he proves integral to the plot, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
He notices the handwriting and everything on a note. And it's and there's a lovely scene with Anton Rogers and Trevor Baxter polishing silver together. And Anton Rogers is wearing Anushka Hempel's Pinny, yeah. It's all frilly and everything, and they're polishing. So it's beautiful. Honestly, you're getting the message, aren't you, folks? We're really, really loving this. Any other brilliant things I want to say about it? Ian Ogilvy is fantastic. You haven't seen this episode. He's such a brilliant rotter with a terrible fake moustache. It looks like it's going to blow off any moment.
I was trying to work out, is Michael Gambon's moustache fake or real? What do you reckon?
That looks pretty fake to me. Yeah, Michael Gambon. You can sort of see, because I remember seeing Michael Gambon interviewed once when they asked him if he'd like to play James Bond. He had a conversation with Cubby Broccoli, and he said, yeah. They said, "Do you want to be James Bond?" I said, "I can't be James Bond. I'm losing my hair." They said, "Don't worry, Sean wears a wig. It's fine." And he said, I'm fat. I've got like breasts. And they said, "Yeah, Sean's got that as well. But what we do for those scenes just before the take, we put ice packs on his breasts. It makes it all shrink back just for the take, And that was Michael Gambon's story about how they wanted to cast him as James Bond. And but you can see that he's got sort of like he's got a little bit of bone structure going on. You know what I mean? He looks a bit.
I didn't clock it was him at first, actually. For some reason, I just didn't think about it. And then halfway through, I thought, that's Michael Gambon. I recognise his voice more than his face, weirdly enough. And then as soon as I recognised it was him, it was obvious to me that it was him. But he's very good. He's nasty, isn't he?
He's brilliant. I mean, George Baker in that episode as well, as just a supporting person. I mean, this is the high grade of casting in this is amazing. They've spent the money on the actors. They have not spent the money on... I mean, you say the sets are good. I think the sets are designed well. But there is, for example, and this must have driven Anushka Hempel bonkers, being an interior designer. There is a little balustrade. Is that the right word? As she approaches her door...
Yeah,
just for the steps there, a banister, and every time she's obviously been directed to run her hand on it, but it feels like it's connected to the wall with sellotape because it wobbles like it will just blow over. But everyone touches it as they come in, and it just wobbles. You just think, oh, no one touch it, or just affix it properly to the set. But of course, this was in the days of the strict union rules, and if you couldn't get a set person to come and sort it out, then you couldn't sort it out, otherwise they'd all go on strike. So yeah, there are things like that, and the terrible backdrops. There's the backdrop on her balcony, which is fine from one particular angle because it's all painted as that perspective, but then they shoot it from other angles and it doesn't work because it's I think that is, I mean, it's like the outside scenes. It's sort of outside, but it sort of does just like, it's where they're a conservatory and then she's got the little garden bit. It doesn't feel like it's outside. Let's be honest here. Although they do they do run a really good little sound effect of a distant road, which sounds actually really good. But some fun. Yeah, they're very, very good with their background sound effects to suggest the things that they can't show. That's quite good. But yeah, there's a later episode I'm watching with Robert Powell set in Brighton, and the shops with the false perspective painted on. They just look like very good watercolor paintings. They don't look like anything like reality. it's all very representational, and I know it's not meant to be like that, and it's such a shame that they just didn't spend at least twice as much on it.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things.
It's very much of its day, but it needs that polish because everything else about it has got a beautiful polish on it.
I think it's one of those things. I mean, Anton's sadly no longer with us, but it would lend itself to audio. I think you could do it in an audio format and it would work today if it was done that way. It's a show, I think it's, for me looking on it, I think it's got scope. I think it's one of those things. It works. It definitely works, and they made it work. They made it work with such a low budget.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated. What would Anushka Hempel's life be like now if this had taken off? As I say, I think things would have been very, very different for her. But she didn't need this.
No,
I think she was a lady of means and and has had a wonderful life. I very much hope. She's 76 now. I looked her up.
Good on her.
What would it have been like in an alternative universe if she'd been Joe Grant? I mean, there's so many what ifs there. But she is a really fine actor. And I say that I'm so surprised because I just remember her being on panel shows and playing really small parts and just being there as being decorative in that awful 70s sexist way. And she fulfills that role here, but there's real meat to her role. And a lot of the later episodes, you'll notice, and I do urge you to carry on watching them.
Oh, I am.
A lot. I mean, you bought the blooming thing now, you might as well.
Well, that was the point I was going to make.
The later episodes concentrate on her a lot. She is clearly the star, and he is the support to her. And I think that's also wonderfully modern. It made me very enthusiastic, and she doesn't get belittled in that sexist way that a lot of women do get belittled in 1970s dramas. She really holds her own in this, and I just love it more and more, even talking about it.
You take her seriously. He's a bit more of a comedy element to this. You take her very seriously. You believe her. And she's fantastic. But yeah, I was going to touch on what you just said there about carrying on with it. I could very easily, we talked about it now, I could very easily not watch it ever again if I didn't enjoy it. But I'm very keen to continue. It's only 6 episodes, isn't it, I believe?
That's right.
So there's not a lot there, but I think it's £9 on Amazon. Or you get it direct from network. I expect it's the same. But if I were you, I'd give it a go because I think it's fun. If you're interested in this sort of thing, I would certainly watch it because I think it's great fun and a show which could have and should have been far more than it was. Really, I think
that sums it up perfectly, Benji. Yes, we love it. Listen, I'm
how many exclamation marks out of exclamation marks are we doing?
Well, 10 exclamation marks out of 10 exclamation marks.
That's a very solid rating. I like it. Yeah.
I'm having, as I was about to say erroneously, I'm having curry for lunch, as I told you earlier before we started recording, and I'm desperate to get my chops around it. So now, before we decide on next week's topic for discussion, which I frankly already decided on, non-negotiable, here's this week's competition.
Okay, this week's competition is to win the soundtrack of the new Captain Scarlet. Beautiful music from Crispin Merrill, and it's limited to only 100 copies. So it's truly a great prize, and it's signed, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
So absolutely worth grabbing.
And the question is, in the new Captain Scarlet series, which character had changed gender from their representation in the original Captain Scarlet and the Mr. Ons series?
Answers there to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. Subject line, Spectrum. Closing date for that one is the 27th of April 2018.
And so now to decide the topic for next week, no arguments, it's Time Slip, the wrong end of time.
Amazing, let's do it. Absolutely awesome.
You don't know Time Slip at all, do you?
I've not. I've always wanted to check it out, but I've not seen it, so that's going to be one for me.
Well, if you don't love it, I'll have to select an appropriate piece of headwear to eat.
A Christmas crown from a cracker. I'm sure I will. It's one of those. Again, it's a show that's got great reviews and has been very well received by the community, the cult community. So I think it's definitely something.
The cult community.
Is it another network one? I expect so.
I think it is released on network. Yeah, as a box set. beautiful. It's all in black and white. It was made in colour, but only black and white prints remain.
That's so sad.
Yeah. I think there's one episode they have in colour in it, but that's it. Funnily enough, 2 of the episodes in the original series were actually only transmitted in black and white because of a strike at ITV.
So that's weird. What a strange
broadcast
parallel.
in 1970. Yes.
Yeah. So has anybody ever tried to colorise it, or is it just not been attempted?
No one's bothered really.
Sort of show. I'm not going to bother with it, I suppose. Really. Yeah.
So there we are. I'm really excited about it. Watch it. You'll love it.
I've
cheated. I've already watched it because I just I had a Sunday afternoon and I just thought I'll put on timestamp. I probably won't watch it, but my goodness, it's good. It's so good. And even the bits that I didn't really like when I was a kid, I really love them now. I'm going through my second childhood.
That's it. Things grow on you though, don't they? That's the thing. And things you don't enjoy when you're younger, you suddenly look and you think, oh, that's really like what was I watching the other day? I was watching Wall Street, the film with Michael Douglas.
Oh, yeah.
I know that film really well, but I've not watched it in years, not watched it since I was sort of probably about 16. Watch it now and it's like, this film's so much better.
Do you know, I don't think I ever saw it.
It's a really good film. It just makes you, the second you finish watching it, you're like, right, I'm going to move to New York and get rich and hang around in limousines with Michael Douglas all day.
Isn't it meant to be that it's all a bad thing, though?
Yeah, it is, but then...
Have you got the lesson wrong?
Well, let's put it this way. It is all meant to be a bad thing, but how can you say no to that when there's a montage of the talking heads burning down their house with them interior decorating this penthouse suite in New York? Come on,
Listen, I'm going to start speaking like this because
yes, I think we must. I think we must depart now
have
from
my curry. Yeah.
The podcast realm. So thank you for listening. And next week it'll be Time Slip, The Wrong End of Time. I've been Benji,
and I've been Nick.
Goodbye.
Bye. Pressing stop now.